Hello. Today I wanted to talk about fashion. Um, I'm not the best person to talk about fashion. You may have noticed I'm not very fashionable. But I read this interesting comment in a book. Um, anyway, and it was all about how things come into fashion and go out of fashion and come back again. And I've made it bright red here. Let's zoom in. And here is the rule. It's by a man named James Laver, and this is his law of fashion. New is good, old is bad, but very old is good again. And this is true for all things in fashion. And in fact, he even went on to make it even clearer. Uh, if we've got here right now, smart, if I got here, like that's the current fashion, whatever is in fashion now. Um, and I was trying to think of some examples. For example, boy bands, maybe BTS is in fashion now, or wearing T-shirts that show your belly button for young people. What else? Banksy's art. I've talked about Banksy before, but these things are sort of in fashion now. This is the normal thing. This is smart, intelligent stuff. Maybe, although maybe BTS is maybe getting a little old now. If I'm talking about it, then it can't be fashionable. But anyway, so that's the current things. But if you imagine things that are currently fashionable, that's what we would call smart or sensible fashions, good fashions. If it was 1 year before, they would be considered quite daring. 5 years before, shameless, embarrassing, and indecent would be very rude. Oh my goodness, nobody would wear a T-shirt that shows your belly button, for example. Maybe they would. Uh, and then things that are fashionable now, 1 year later, will be considered dowdy. Dowdy means old-fashioned, a little bit, not quite as cool. Old people will be wearing it. Like maybe Uniqlo t-shirts. I wear Uniqlo t-shirts, so I guess Uniqlo is no longer fashionable if people who are 50 are wearing them. Um, the interesting thing is when things are 10 years past the fashion, they're considered hideous. Hideous means ugly. 20 years later, it's ridiculous. It's hilarious, very funny, amusing 30 years later. Quaint. Quaint means kind of cute, but old fashioned, something that grandma would wear. But get it past a human life, 70 years later, it's considered charming. 100 years after it's in fashion, it's romantic. And 150 years later, it's beautiful. Really? Well, I was trying to think of some examples. Maybe you can help me. But I've got down here. So the current fashion, as I say, boy bands like BTS. Uh, I'm not sure wearing t-shirts that show your belly button is a fashion. It's my daughter's fashion. Banksy's art is certainly fashionable right now. And I was thinking, okay, well, let's go back 20 years. 20 years ago, in the year 2000, the music was the Spice Girls. That should be a capital G. If you want to be my baby, da, 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 da. Kind of. So if it's according to this rule, 20 years ago, it's ridiculous. Yeah, kind of ridiculous. Spice Girls are kind of ridiculous. The fashion then was to have giant sunglasses and hoop earrings, apparently. And I was thinking about art. Do you know a guy called Jeff Koons? Google him. He does these giant balloon dogs and sells them for millions of dollars. Have a look on Google. Jeff Koons, balloon art. He's a millionaire. But he became popular 20 years ago. Now it looks ridiculous, his stuff, I would say. And is it true that 150 years ago things are beautiful? Well, 150 years ago was the 1870s. I'm too old, even I am too young to remember, but the music that was popular then, Debussy. I think you'll find that most people think Debussy is very beautiful symphonies. The fashion was for long flowing dresses of the late Victorians. If you ever see pictures or paintings of Victorian women, it's very majestic, long petticoats, and kind of a fashion for it now. And if I think about painting, The Impressionists, Monet and oh, who, all of those famous French uh, painters who had a very, well, their style of Impressionist paintings um, was very, very popular. Is now considered beautiful. At the time, it was considered a little bit crazy. Now it's considered beautiful. So the point is, fashion changes. In fact, the point is, new is good in fashion, old is bad, but very old is good again. And maybe you can see that in Japan. So I'm curious. I don't really know much about Japanese fashions and stuff. I want to know, number one, can you name 3 things that are in fashion now? Hmm. Okay. Number 2, do you think any of them will seem ridiculous in 20 years? Hard to imagine now, isn't it? Something that looks cool and sensible will seem ridiculous in 20 years. Another way of thinking, what old-fashioned things do you like now? So things that are considered out of fashion, but what do you like now? Do you like Debussy? Do you like miniskirts? That's a 1960s fashion, or is that ridiculous? I don't know. You tell me. I want to know what is fashionable, what isn't fashionable. Okay, so 3 questions to think about, and I'll chat to you soon. Thank you very much. See you soon.